It's time for the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games review for the Wii. When I first heard of this game, I thought to myself, it's just another gimmick to make money. However, now that I've played it, is it a game that takes home the gold, or just another gimmick? The gameplay of this title features, you guessed it, Mario and Sonic characters competing in various Olympic games such as track and field, aquatics, gymnastics, and so on. From the roster, you get to choose from 16 characters you want to play as. Each character specializes in one of 4 attributes: power, all-around, speed, and skill. Depending on which event you'll play in, you'll want to choose a fitting character. Now, I was going to go through the basics of each set of events, but I would be repeating myself for the majority of each game. You know why? Well, it has to do with the controls. With a few games aside, the majority of each game will have you flailing the Wiimote and nunchuck in some manner. Like for the 100 meters dash, you have to quickly flail both controllers like crazy to win. Now, in the 4x100 meter freestyle, you basically have to do the same thing, but in a different method depending on your characters. With one lap, you might have to swing both controllers from side to side together, and on the next one, you'll have to alternate them back and forth. So there is variety in most of the events, but the principle is still the same: flail like crazy. And this is the major downfall of the game. It kills your arms and hands. So much so that I could barely play it the next day because my arms and hands were so sore. This is a huge downside because the game is pretty fun in single player mode, but is extremely fun as a multiplayer game. Now, there are some games where you don't have to sacrifice your arms and hands to have fun. Like in Skeet, you have to shoot down as many clay discs as you can in 8 rounds, and whoever shot down the most, of course, wins. In archery, you obviously have to try and shoot the middle of your target, but it can be quite tricky because in order for you to hit it, you have to point with the Wiimote, but you also have to align the nunchuck with it via the nunchuck's motion sensors. It's actually pretty fun once you get used to it. In gymnastics, you have to perform tricks on a trampoline. When you bounce high enough, you're given a sequence of buttons and rotations of the Wiimote to perform. This is one of my favorites because it's fun and it doesn't kill you. In addition to standard Olympic events, there's also one called Dream Event, and one of the games is called Dream Race. This is basically a watered-down version of Mario Kart on foot, but it's still pretty fun. The graphics were very well done. However, you can tell the developers were on their coffee break when it came to new outfits. Do you see anything odd in this clip? Yep, almost all the characters are in their regular outfits while swimming. For one, is that even allowed? And two, I'm pretty sure they would go faster if they had the proper swimwear on. This isn't a huge issue, but it's still a bit weird nonetheless. The controls... Oh, wait, I kinda already said. Well, I'll just say it again. I thought they were good for the most part. However, you can only play for so long because of how tired your arms and hands get after playing most of the events. And there were some times where they would become frustrating. Like for example, in the long jump, you have to flick the Wiimote up to jump. But you can't do it as fast as you would like to, otherwise you'll get penalized. You have to find the sweet spot of how fast you can do it. But the problem with that is that sometimes the sensors will not read your movements fast enough, or sometimes at all, and of course you'll get penalized. Now, it's not like it's really hard to determine how fast you can flick the Wiimote up, but it's still pretty annoying. Most of all the events controlled pretty well for the most part. However, there is one game where they basically suck, and that game is table tennis. It's basically like table tennis in Wii Sports Resort, but crappier. I found the controls were unresponsive about 30 to 40% of the time. Now, I know this game doesn't use the Wii Motion Plus, but still, you'd think table tennis would be one of the easier controlled games, but in my opinion, it's not. In addition to playing each game one by one, you can complete circuits which consist of 3 chosen events. There's also a bunch of separate missions for each character, which are pretty fun and gives the game more replay value. There's even a mode where it'll give you trivia about the Olympics. Thing is though, you have to play a minigame to acquire the answer, which, although it can be pretty fun, is also pretty weird concerning what the minigames are. There's also an online mode, although it is really shallow. All it is rankings of other people compared to yours. I thought it would have been really fun to compete against other people. In addition to the replay value, there are a lot of collectibles you can unlock by completing certain scenarios. There's even an emblem you can receive by logging onto the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. I don't know about you, but that was probably the most difficult emblem that I could have received. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games is a pretty fun single-player game, but is an extremely fun multiplayer game. Well done graphics, good but painful controls, a good variety of games, and, like I said, very fun multiplayer. However, the downsides were, of course, the controls that make your arms and hands fall off. They're so bad, well, I mean, not controlled bad, but you know what I mean, that it just decreases the fun of the game, and 2, the online mode was kind of disappointing. Overall though, I still really had fun with this game. Even though the controls are a real pain, literally, I still thought it was really fun, especially when playing with friends. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of good.